All right, so how do you how do you approach someone you want to mentor you? Here's the thing, it's really hard to approach people that you want to mentor you and immediately ask them for mentorship. Mentorship typically starts with some type of friendship or someone seeing something in you that they saw in themselves and wanting to kind of help guide your way. Not every person that's well off is a good mentor, teacher, or instructor. A lot of those people are better off not instructing because they're not able to articulate how to do something. And what I mean by that is not a skill set, but rather they're not able to articulate truly what their success is, so their message gets kind of lost in translation. Partly why we even created Secret to begin with is to share that message with you in a way that we know is going to be impactful to you. In the academy, we do this a lot, sharing those videos. But when you meet people, and especially those that are good at mentoring or those that are good instructors and good coaches, they'll naturally want to hear all about what you're doing. They'll ask you questions like, oh, are you in school? Are you working? And you'll ultimately share with them what you're doing, what you're working on. They'll ask you more in-depth questions. Asking you these questions is really their own assessment of who you are as an individual. Over time, when that relationship builds, you'll start hearing them give you tips, like a little bit of you should do this, you should do that, or perhaps you should do this. That's them taking interest. That's us like ultimately saying, hey, we know like you're going through this and here are some tips. Now, we're kind of putting stuff out there, seeing how you're going to use it, seeing how you're going to leverage it, seeing how you're going to pay attention to it. And then we're taking notes on what you're doing or not doing. Because the more we interact with you, the more we understand if you're using the advice we're giving you. Are you being ultimately a hard worker? Are you showing the same characteristics we had when we were younger? And if you do, then this relationship is going to become more and more and more kind of ongoing. And I think the ongoing relationship is ultimately what is going to turn into a mentor-mentee relationship. Those are the best relationships. Those are the longer lasting ones. And those are the ones that matter most. The best first place to start is to find people with common values, beliefs, but more importantly, people with common interests. If you're a car photographer, you're going to go to car meets, but with exotic car meets, where you're going to meet people who have achieved something you want to achieve, not car meets where people are smoking weed and hanging out around Honda Civics. You want to go places where you are ultimately able to find people who you aspire to be like, and then from there, connect with them on a non-business level. Don't approach wealthy people or business people and ask them right off the bat, you should invest in my idea, you should do this, you should do that. No, they shouldn't have to do shit. You're the one that wants, right? So you have to provide value first, like offer to shoot their car for free, offer to create a connection or a reason for them to get to know you. If you don't, then it's very difficult to go up and be like, you should invest in me, you'll regret this later. I get this all the time. People email me on Facebook and they're like, you should invest in my company. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because I want to be successful like you. I want to have cars and the house and this and that. And I'm like, how does that make any sense? Which is ultimately the reason why you're probably going to fail. And then they're like, I'm going to prove you wrong and you're going to see how you missed on an opportunity. Where was the opportunity? I missed the part where if you succeeded or failed, there was an opportunity in it for me. There wasn't. So therefore, you're wrong. And I think that's the biggest mistake, is that people assume that people who have done well are obligated to give back. No, we're not. We don't have to give a shit. I give a shit because I think it's important for me. It's part of what I do. It's part of my brand. It's where my purpose comes from. A lot of people don't have to. A lot of people we get for the academy, I have to have many conversations with them and ultimately almost kind of like show them the value of what they're missing out if they don't do it. It's not something that happens just like one ask, one get, right? So I think you need to understand that, and you need to understand that every relationship, no matter how high, how low, how lateral, how love-driven, how business-driven, is built upon the idea of give and take. You have to give and you have to take. It cannot be cannot be built on the idea of give or take. It has to be built on the idea of give and take. And the best part of it is, even though the give and take may not be equal at any given time, over time it will equalize itself and will kind of, the balance will be restored. But the give and take must happen no matter what. So even if you're somebody that hasn't accomplished much, don't have much to give, try to think about what value you can provide back in ways that are not necessarily driven by money or resources or similar nature than the value you're seeking to receive. All right, so when did I start treating myself? Well, I was at the spa earlier this week, so I felt really good about that. Got a mani, pedi, felt good, laid there.